Hello and welcome to this special edition of the Football Show. We're here at the Crucible. It's semi-final time for the Betfred World Snooker Championship. And we've got two very special guests. Ken Doherty won the Betfred World Snooker Championship back in 1997, 25 years ago. And Paul Parker, well, 1997, had you just retired, is that right?
Yeah, I was finished, I stopped playing in, it was 97 I retired, You know better than me, Mark. Well,
in 1996, you played 10 games for Sheffield United.
I certainly did, I was here. First time I've been back to the city, and a massive change when I walked out the station. Big change. Lovely. Looks really nice now.
And what do you think of the Crucible?
It's incredible. I didn't really think it would be like this. I just thought I was walking into somewhere which was just hosting snooker. I didn't really understand the fact that it's actually the home of snooker. Everything is built around the snooker. It's a wonderful place.
Well, we're going to have to start with your old club, or one of your old clubs, for Manchester United, of course. You won the Premier League there, you won the FA Cup with them. I mean, Parks, at the moment, there's 25 points between Manchester United and Manchester City.
Well, lucky enough, the points, even though it's 25, are still hiding how poor things are, because the thing that you talk about is the performances. United's performances have been awful, and you live off performances. It's what gives you the belief about the next game you're going into, and United have not done that all season.
The worst one for me, I was at the Old Trafford game, the Liverpool game, standing in the Stretford end, and 5-0, it was just that. I think that was the worst moment in any time that I've been to watch Manchester United, and particularly against, Liverpool. It was just like, it was almost like they'd almost given up, down tools, and just weren't prepared to really fight. And as Paul says, the performances, and that's what Man United for me is all about. It's like, the guts, they the teams of Alex Ferguson in the 90s, they never stopped running, they never stopped fighting, and that's what I think most Man United fans are more upset about, as well as obviously the defeats, but more upset about how they perform.
Let's get the fans' perspective then, Ken. Look, he was in the dressing room with Roy Keane, Brian Robson, Gary Pallister, Steve Bruce. Is that what Manchester United are missing at the moment?
I think they're missing a lot, I mean, there doesn't seem to be any real leaders, and I mean, but for the goals that Ronaldo has scored at 37 years of age, they might be like, another 5 or 6 places down the table, but they're missing leaders all over the park, and it doesn't, and I mean, Paul would know more about that than I would, but it's just from an outsider, from a fan's point of view, that's what we need those type of characters.
Because Parks, you had an outstanding manager, but also you sorted a lot of things out yourself, didn't you? You had some pretty serious chats in that dressing room, just you lot, without Sir Alex Ferguson being there.
Oh, we did, but it wasn't like we didn't suddenly just go out and call a meeting. It was said at times, just popped up when someone wasn't doing something. Sometimes it was said as a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but it made you think about a situation. If you weren't doing, especially from Roy or Robbo, they would say little comments which make you think. Brian McClare would pop up and say things, and a lot of times it's the worst kind of rollicking you can get is from a teammate, because that's the ones that affect you, the people you're working with. Your manager, your manager's always going to be the one. I think the one that hurts you more is your fellow pro, your teammate, because they're the ones who are out there with you. And if you're not pulling your weight and they tell you you're not, that really, really hurts.
Especially, say, Peter Schmeichel. He gave you a few rollickins, didn't he?
Well, to be honest, Pete gave everyone a rollicking. Someone has a shot from 40 yards. Pete will give you a rollicking for not closing them down. That was Pete. Pete was built that way. But it made a difference. It made a difference. Like, I can laugh about it now, but it's the way Pete was built. It's what made him great. And that's what he lacks now. Because if you turn around and the goalkeeper did that, I think a lot of his players will crumble.
I bet Schmeichel and Roy Keane had a few fisticuffs over the years.
I'll tell you what, Ken, that's called a leading question.
Go on, answer it.
You can't remember.
Can I take the fifth?
Hey, Roy Keane's a huge snooker fan. We've seen him a few times before. Right, we mentioned the Liverpool defeat at home. Then there was the Liverpool defeat at Anfield, of course, which was 4-0. But other performances at Parks. I mean, Watford 0-0 at home, Leicester at home 1-1, 1-0 away at Everton. I mean, they could have finished in the top 4, couldn't they? I think it's very unlikely now.
Yeah, I think we have to look as well as at the Etihad as well. That performance, the scoreline wasn't big or anything, but the actual performance. And I because of the way Sir Alex was, is that he was all about performances. He was about how you are prepared as a team to go into your next game, and that's off the back of performance. And you'd win a game. There's one time we won 5-0 at Highfield Road, and he gave us a rollicking after it, because he said that the way we played the game didn't befit Manchester United. In other words, he said that certain players were taking liberties. It was too easy.
Yeah.
There was overplaying, and that's what he was all about. And he lived off of performances, so we'd know that at the end of the day we had to be almost every game be right to prepare for the next game. But every time we was going into a European game, or we was going into a game against Liverpool, Leeds or City, the boss during that week going into that, he was a different character. Completely, that was it. He was that way, and we had to become that way, because if you didn't and he called you out, there was a good chance you weren't going to play.
Yeah.
So Ken, have you been spoilt as a Manchester United fan, do you think? Is that one of the issues?
Yeah, but I think we have. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it'd be good to hear what Paul has to say about this new manager coming in, because I mean, what a job he has on his hands. He's got a contract for 3 to 4 years maybe, but I mean, he's gonna have to obviously instill that sort of belief and his own sort of methods into the team, but also, are those players going to react to it? How many players does he have to bring in? How many players does he have to get rid of? Because it could take 3 or 4 years before we see any success at all. It's not going to be instantaneous.
Come on then, tell us about Erik ten Hag.
I don't know enough about him, and to be honest, I'm not one of these people who's going to make up and just state the obvious. All I want from him really is to be allowed to do the job as I always see a manager. A person, you walk in and they're respected, and they're organised, and you straight away you respect, and straight away whatever he says you do. It's as simple as that. You don't have to like him, but you respect his position, and I want the players to do that. I want them to understand what it's like to play for a club like that. I look at Fulham, where I grew up. I look at Queen's Park Rangers, which got me into Wolves, becoming to play for a big club like Manchester United. Fortunate they come in for me, and then as soon as I get there was no rules written on the wall. Everything was just about what the players tell you. You learn as you go on about respecting that club and the players around it, and that's all you want from anyone who comes in. Knows exactly what is expected to deliver the best you can week in, week out.
And how big a job is it? Because he's going to have to get rid of a few players, let's be honest, and he's going to have to bring some new talent in. So how big a job has he got?
He's mostly got the toughest of all since Sir Alex retired, I would say, at this moment in time, because everyone is interested. Everyone is talking about Manchester United. That's the thing now. Ken being a supporter, but everybody, you don't have to be a football fan. You don't even have to be a Manchester United supporter. Everyone wants to talk about them. That tells you how great that football club is, to be perfectly honest. Everyone's now knows the new manager's name, and everyone's waiting to see what happens next. There's a lot of them out there are hoping it doesn't go well, but there's a lot out there who want it to go well. I think a lot of people out there really need Manchester United to be doing better than what they are. I want to see Manchester United and Liverpool going head to head for a league title. I think that's what everyone wants, those two. As good as it might be, you've got Man City there who are there with them. People want Manchester United in there. That's what the football club's about. Yeah.
And how do you think the amount of support that he's going to need from the Glazers? What Gary Neville was talking about, investment in the team, investment in the club, in the facilities and everything.
The thing about it, though, is that Manchester United, investment-wise, have spent a lot of money. They're no different to City and Liverpool in certain ways. If you want to throw it up there, you're talking margins, minimal. But it's about how it's been done, who they're spending the money on. It's about buying players to play football, not buying or getting players to sell merchandise. They've got to be signings to football, not commercial. And that's what Manchester United need. Players who are hungry. You want Manchester United to make players, Mark. That's what you want. You don't want them to suddenly go out there and buy so-called ready-made. Sir Alex brought players, and he made a lot of players, made them household names. And at the moment, Manchester United are trying to buy household names. No team has ever gone that way. You can't do it. Sir Alex spent many years of building teams within teams, ready for certain situations. I'm saying it now, but all that time was going on was really in theory to get rid of me. But that was great it was what Manchester United about, being a house being built within a house.
Yeah.
But and that's what they need to do, Mark.
Gary Neville replace you.
Yeah.
I think most Manchester United fans want to see some academy kids, don't they? And obviously, Ten Hag comes with this reputation for playing academy kids from Ajax.
Yeah, but he's not going to. Surely he's not going to come in suddenly and think, right, I can spend 60 million in, 50 million in, 40 million, because that's not Dutch football. Dutch football, people are taking those players away from them. That's the way he's been brought up. So mentally he is set to about bringing younger players in, and it might the academy players that Manchester United have got maybe not ready for it, but it might be better prepared players somewhere else. He will know them. So that's the bit I think everyone's looking forward to see.
How many players do you think he actually needs to bring in?
If we're talking about starting, you can't just suddenly have so many starting at one time.
Yeah.
It's such a difficult question because we don't know the real, as I'm going to use this word, the wrong-uns within that squad. There is problems, and he's got to battle egos, and he's got to be allowed to battle. So when he says, "I want that player out," you can't suddenly have someone coming from the commercial department saying, "Hold on a minute." He's got to be allowed to do what is right. It's not about This is a long game. It's not a short game about Manchester United trying to win something tomorrow. It's looking at the bigger picture.
Well, give him 3 years and say do a proper job.
Yeah, exactly right. He's got to have time. And if he loses the game, the PR side of it has got to kind of work with him on that. You can't have someone coming in and start demanding Premier League and Champions League.
Ken, question for you. Is it worse at the moment, as a Manchester United fan, seeing Man City doing so well, and obviously Liverpool could win the quadruple, and Jurgen Klopp has just extended his contract, all's well at Anfield and all is well at the Etihad. Is that making it worse as a Manchester United fan?
Not really. I mean, I'm a Manchester United fan, but I love watching good football. Man City, Liverpool play great football. I prefer Man City to win the league than Liverpool, I have to say. I think Liverpool are bigger sort of rivals than Man City, always have been. So from that perspective, yes, I'd like to see Man City win. But you have to appreciate good footballers, class footballers, and what the likes of Guardiola has brought to the Premiership, and what Klopp has brought to the Premiership as well, because they've raised the bar, and that's something that Ten Hag will have to do. He'll have to come in and, they are the barometer now, unfortunately. We were the barometer in the 90s when Liverpool were in the 80s, So, listen, we've had some great times, under Alex Ferguson. They will come back again, there's no doubt about that, but it will take a bit of time,
Well, Fred has already paid out on Man City to win the title. He did that at Christmas. And on the 1st of February, it looked a good decision. There was 14 points between Man City and Liverpool. Who's going to win a title then?
I think Man City will hold on.
You can't say none of them. Who's going to win a title? City or Liverpool?
You want me to be positive? City.
Would you prefer City?
City.
Right. Let's just finish here by talking about a bit of snooker and someone Paul used to play with. So, Ronnie O'Sullivan this week was talking about Paul Gascoigne. First of all, Ronnie O'Sullivan, 6 world titles. He's going for the 7th to match Stephen Hendry. You won the world title. No one can take that away from you. But how good is Ronnie O'Sullivan? Where do you rate him? Where do you rate him with the Hendrys and the Ray Radens and the Steve Davises?
Well, look at, I always say, when I came over to England first, I used to practice with Ronnie every day, down in Ilford Snooker Centre. And I'm not bragging or anything like that, but I used to be eating 10-2, 10-3 every day. Now, he was only 12 at the time, you know what I mean? But it still counts in my book. So, now, I've known Ronnie for, since the late 80s, like all those years ago, 30-odd years. Even back then, he was a handful. He was like at 12 years of age. He was a practice partner, and we knew then he was going to be world champion. He's a very special talent. He is one of Britain's greatest ever sportsmen in my book. Because of what he's done for the game, he's instantly recognisable. He's been our sort of talisman in the game for the best part of like 25 years, 30 years, since 1992. He's still going strong. He's amazing. And the guys that are there with him, the likes of Higgins and Williams too, they've really carried the flag with them, and they're still going, which is quite admirable. But yeah, it'd be very special for Ronnie if he did win it for 7 times and equal Stephen Hendry's record. It's the only record he doesn't have. He's broken everything else. But however, John Higgins is a legend. Judd Trump and Mark Williams are two fantastic players as well. Mark Williams is a legend, Judd Trump is a legend as well. So it's going to be very, very difficult. But Ronnie O'Sullivan, yeah, one of those very special talents.
And he's box office, isn't he, Parks? Ronnie O'Sullivan.
He is. I mean, I'm not a snooker fan. I wouldn't kid anybody that I am. But
you've enjoyed it here today, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh, it's good when you come. As I said to you earlier, it's the home of snooker. It's like the Wembley of snooker. Just to see it all, everything around it is built around snooker. But I've known of Ronnie a long time. I knew that he's very pally with David Beckham for a while, so I saw him a few times around that. But yeah, and I saw him a few months back. I saw him at Llandudno out there in the Welsh Open, and I think he was shocked to see me sitting there when he walked in the hotel. So, without doubt, and we are struggling a little bit. People now with sports, it's all over the place now. But Ronnie's one of them from that era, which I just know, and he's just always been at the top of it.
Well, Ronnie O'Sullivan said early on this week that he's not a genius. Well, he is. He's fantastic at snooker. He's brilliant to watch. But he said Paul Gascoigne is a genius.
I was running with him about 2 months ago.
Really? Can I ask you where? What the details of that?
We was at Champney Spa.
And what do you think of Gazza? What's he
I love
like?
Gazza. I love Gazza. I just wish he could have had Alex Ferguson in his corner and maybe had someone around him to guide him. But I don't think anyone could have guided Gazza. But if there was one person, it would have been either like a Jurgen Klopp or a Alex Ferguson. Do you know what I mean? But that would have been a hard task because he's a maverick, isn't he?
You guys both have unique talents, don't you? All the gifts. What you say?
He's a proper. No, he's different talent. I think I don't call myself a genius. He's a genius. George Best is a genius. Alex Higgins was a genius. So no, I don't put myself in that bracket. But he's our greatest British footballer of all time. He could have played for Brazil. So if any our footballers can play for Brazil, then you're special,
So that was Ronnie O'Sullivan speaking early on this week. Right, you played with Paul Gascoigne. You went to a World Cup, Italia 90 with Paul Gascoigne. Was he a genius?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. It's just a shame, really, that he never got it over a long period of time, that success he had. But that's the reason why Paul Gascoigne will always be known or will be put into that category as a maverick. He's just got edge about him. He's still the best player we've had to represent England. We haven't matched
Best
him.
player you play with?
Yeah, I'd have to say overall best Englishman. We haven't found anyone to replace him. The media are trying their best to. Isn't going to happen in this moment in time. It will just happen rather than trying to push someone over the line. He was good at everything and he trained as he played. He used to hate losing in training. He'd play games and he would be pushing people out of the way of his arms. He would doing flapping around. He was quite cynical as well. If you didn't give him the ball or you gave him a bad ball, he would call you out. That's the reason why, going back to today's football, the likes of Paul Gascoigne is needed, but I just worry that he might have just upset too many of his teammates because they couldn't deal with him.
Do you think if Sir Alex Ferguson had managed him, do you think it could have been very, very different? It could have had a longer career, possibly?
I think it would have given him a better chance. Would the boss have been successful? That's something which you're never going to find out. But he was the one who could have given him the best possible chance because he would have disciplined him. You look at Erik Cantona. You just look at it like he come from Leeds. The manager at the time, he couldn't really deal with him. He just found it difficult, or maybe didn't want to. Sir Alex took it on. He didn't tell Erik. He didn't point his finger at him and say, "You can't do that. You can't do that." He managed him, and that's what football's lacking now. It's lacking managers. We want to give people titles, coach. I think we need to get back. Just as when you put that there, you know exactly what you're dealing with. When he's the manager, and the boss was pleased that anybody, as a player, if you had an issue, you go and talk to him, so he would know, and then he can judge it, looking at that situation to know whether or not you was going to be able to help him win a game of football at the weekend.
Right, come on, Ken. Let's finish with a Ken Doherty story.
Oh well, I mean, I used to go to Man Utd all the time, and I was in there. Now, we talked about Ronnie O'Sullivan, of course. He was in Gascoigne, and it was like we had Higgins and Jimmy White before Ronnie O'Sullivan, and now Ronnie O'Sullivan's like people shout. So everywhere you go, like people would always ask, how are you getting on? And say, what's Ronnie O'Sullivan like? You know what I mean? So anyway, I'm going to watch Manchester United. I got a ticket. Paul Ince used to get me a ticket. I go in the players' bar. Paul would come in, and all the boys would come down the stairs. They come and say hello. So Beckham comes down the stairs. Never met him before, and he comes down and says, "Oh, how's it going? Didn't know you were a Man United fan. How how's Ronnie O'Sullivan getting on, right? I said, he's grand. So he takes a pen and paper out. Here's my number, give that to Ronnie, will you? I looked at it, yeah, all right, okay, right. I'm in Dublin the next week, right? I'm shopping away, and I'm in one of the shops in Dublin. Noel Gallagher's in there. Oh, Ken, he's a snooker player. Yeah, I'll come to your concert tonight, Noel, you know. How's Ronnie O'Sullivan? Yeah, he's grand, yeah. Give him my number, will you? I said, for fuck. What about me? It was all Ronnie O'Sullivan. But that's what they're like, you know. These great talisman, talented players in any sport, you know, they attract people, don't they? They get people talking about the game, about the sport, because they excite people. You know, Higgins excited me, Jimmy White excited me, Ronnie O'Sullivan has excited hundreds of millions of people around the world and is still doing it, and that's the great thing about Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Gents, really enjoyed your company today. This very special show from the Crucible. We've got some cracking games this weekend as well. We've got Newcastle versus Liverpool, Leeds versus Man City, Everton, Chelsea, Spurs, Leicester, Celtic, Rangers, and Monday night we have got Manchester United versus Brentford. Will you be watching, fellas?
I'm actually working the game, so I'm worried for Man United because Brentford are no mugs, as everyone has seen now. So it's going to be another difficult game for Manchester United at Old Trafford.
And then on Monday night, we also crown the champion, the 2022, the Betfred World Snooker Champion. Could it be Ronnie O'Sullivan? Could he win a magnificent 7th? Could it be Judd Trump? Could it be John Higgins? Mark Williams has got work to do. It's brilliant here at the Crucible. We're live here in the Media Centre. Thanks so much to Paul Parker. Thanks to Ken Doherty. See you soon.